Let's press forward. I went ahead and pulled the controllers side by side again so that we can easily understand what we're doing in this video. We want to get to a point where we export this entire low poly controller, and before we do that we need to soften all the edges of the controller in order for it to accept these sort of edges and details that we are going to bake onto it. So I will click and drag over all of these, and then I'll go to mesh display and soften edge. And when you do that, you'll see that you get some sort of funky shading, which is to be expected, so don't worry too much about that. This back here might be a bit of a problem in terms of the shading we're getting here. So I'm actually going to isolate this and go to face mode, and I'm going to hold tab and paint a selection like this. And I just want to get the flat portion of the back. And it looks like I just hold shift and grab that, and I need to, I know I saw, here we go. I don't want this face. I'll hit control 1 twice just to make sure that all I have is the flattened part. So I will select all of these faces, go mesh display and harden edge. Now if I go to object mode and click off, you'll see that that sort of display error is gone. And I might, for now, harden those interior edges. I can do that pretty quickly by finding their UVs. So I'll select these UV shells, and now I've selected those shells, you'll see that those faces are selected, so I can go to mesh display, harden edge, and that looks good. Alright, let's go ahead and prep the high poly controller, and there are several things we need to do to this. And the first is these are all separate pieces still, and we want to make them one piece. We also want to create our ID map. I'm going to pull off the screws for this, and we're going to attempt to use a different method to get the screws. So right now this is a single piece, so I'm going to go to mesh, separate, and then I'll take all the screws and I'll say mesh, combine, and then I will center the pivot, and I'll just name these screws in the outliner, and I'm going to select them and hit Control and H to hide them. So we're going to use a different technique for the screws, I think. Alright, so let's go through and actually smooth this. First of all, this is on smooth preview only right now, so I'm going to select all the pieces and hit 1 on the keyboard to get out of smooth preview. Now I'm going to go through piece by piece and smooth each piece. So I'm going to start with this sort of D-pad frame, and I'll go to the modeling toolkit and hit smooth, change subdivisions to 2. I'm not going to smooth this front plate here, but I will be smoothing this one, subdivisions of 2. I'm just hitting G to reuse the last tool, which was smooth. So I got those. Let's smooth this one, subdivisions of 2. I'm going to delete my history here. Delete all by type history. Middle mouse click and drag this out. Oops. Delete history again. Back shell, delete this empty node. Then I'll go ahead and rename this to back shell underscore high. And then we'll smooth this. 2 subdivisions. D-pad, we will smooth that. 2 subdivisions, select, smooth it. Alright, all the pieces that I want to have smooth are now smooth. So that's good. Let's go ahead and set up our, we want to bake an ID map for help in texture work. So let's do that now. So it's going to be helpful to have, let's isolate this piece. And I'm going to, essentially we want to assign materials to specific spots on this in order to access a custom mask inside of Substance Painter. So I'm going to select all of these faces in here. And make sure I have them all. And now that I do have them all, with those faces selected, I'm going to right click and hold and go to assign new material. I'll choose a Lambert. Then in the attribute editor, I'm going to go to the Lambert 2, which is the new material. Lambert 1 is the default material. We don't want to change that. So Lambert 2, I'm going to change the name to MAT underscore so it looks like the sort of, it looks like the shell plastic, like the case plastic, and those indentations and button frames are the same. So I'll just name this case plastic. And then I'm just going to change the color by clicking on this little color here. And it doesn't matter what color I choose, just something that's clearly visible. So that's fine. And I'm actually going to undo once so that I still have this selection here. And then in face mode, I'm going to hold shift and click and drag over the entire thing to select the inverse of what was selected. Then I'll right click and go down to, again, assign new material, Lambert, rename it from Lambert 3 to MAT underscore front panel. And we'll change this, and let's just choose a color that's clearly visible. Then I'll select this piece and this piece and this piece, and right click and hold and go down to assign existing material, and I'm going to use this matte underscore case plastic because those are the same material as this one. Same with this piece and this piece. So assign existing material, matte case plastic. And then let's make a material for these pieces. Right click and hold. Assign new material, Lambert. Let's choose a different color. Whoops, forgot to name that. Lambert 4, this will be matte underscore SS for select and start. And these ones, assign new material, Lambert. And let's choose a different color. This one will be matte underscore face buttons. All right, so just that little bit of work is going to go a long ways in terms of just helping us not have to paint by hand where these indentations are on the low poly, because there's no geometry on the low poly, on this low poly piece, right? There's no edges to represent those pieces. So this will help with that. All right, we need to clean up this outliner a bit. Remember that we need an even number of pieces. So all of these pieces right here need to be one piece, which will bake onto the front plate underscore low. So I'm going to select those pieces, hit mesh combine, shows up down here. I'm going to delete all by type history. I'll select this and I'll rename this to front panel underscore high. And I'll move this up. Let's see, front panel, or front plate, not panel. Let's see, front panel, high, front plate. Gotta make sure this is named the same thing as the low poly, so front plate underscore high. Front shell deepest. So I'm just looking through these to make sure I'm good to go. And I should be good to go. So I'm going to, again, delete my history one last time. Then I'll select controller high, go to the channel box, change translate back to 0 so that it rests directly on top of the low poly controller. Then I will go ahead and with the controller underscore high selected, file, export selection. And I want to export this in the data folder of my project folder as an FBX. So I'll name this controller underscore high. Next, let's export the low poly controller. And this one we'll name controller underscore low.